the shocking untold story of Moses, the hidden secrets behind the 10 plagues of Egypt. Few knew what truly happened that night. The air was thick with dread, as if the very atmosphere trembled under the weight of divine fury. In the land of Egypt, the mighty Nile flowed like blood through the veins of a restless kingdom. Shadows loomed large over the bustling cities, and whispers of prophecy danced on the lips of anxious souls. It was a time of miracles and calamities, and at the heart of it all stood a man named Moses, a reluctant hero destined to confront Pharaoh himself. Moses had fled Egypt years ago, a fugitive bearing the mark of forgotten glory. But the call of his people echoed deeply within him. As he returned, he felt the tension crackle like lightning in the air. The Israelites, his people, were trapped, suffering unimaginable pain under the iron grip of oppression. Heavy shackles wore deep grooves in their skin, and sorrow wept from their eyes. The cries for freedom reverberated through the streets, a mournful symphony of hope amid despair. But what followed would shatter the foundations of Pharaoh's reign. The 10 plagues began a cosmic battle between the God of Israel and the false gods of Egypt. Each plague was more shocking than the last, an unfolding drama ripe with tension. Blood filled the rivers, turning the lifeblood of the nation into a gruesome spectacle. Frogs leaped from the banks, invading homes, hopping relentlessly, their cries mingling with the wails of the afflicted. Swarms of gnats crawled relentlessly, pricking the skins of both man and beast, a relentless curse to endure. Then came the flies, thick and buzzing, transforming every moment into a waking nightmare. Livestock fell ill with disease, their lifeless bodies laying scattered like forgotten dreams. Boils erupted on the skin of the Egyptians, a painful testimony of the God who was no longer willing to stand in silence. Hail rained down, a merciless storm that punished those who defied the divine. Amid the chaos, fiery locusts descended like a dark cloud, consuming all hope, leaving only desolation in their wake. And then came darkness, an abyss that swallowed light itself. It was heavy, suffocating, a blanket of fear wrapping around the hearts of many. Only the Israelites basked in the glow of hope, their homes untouched by the shadows. As the final blow approached, Moses stood tall, heart pounding, breaths trembling. He carried the weight of a nation on his shoulders. Would this last warning bring Pharaoh to his knees? Or would it incite fury and lead to even greater devastation? The answer hung in the air, thick with fear and expectation. What hidden truths lay buried in these plagues? What divine message was being delivered through chaos? The answers teased from the corners of mystery, waiting to be unveiled. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the final night approached, the tension in the air thickened like the fog that often embraced the shores of the Nile. Moses, standing at the brink of destiny, could feel the weight of 1,000 prayers and dreams funneling into his heart. He gazed at the stars, which now seemed foreign, overshadowed by the haunting cries of a nation crushed beneath Pharaoh's decree. He longed for liberation, yet understood the gravity of the impending judgment coming over the land. Deep in the chambers of Pharaoh's palace, the ruler of Egypt paced restlessly, his mind racing. The echoes of the plagues reverberated in his ears. His unwavering stubbornness had led to devastation not only for his own house, but for all the families of Egypt. He had witnessed the horror of blood, frogs, and darkness, yet each plague had faltered against his pride. Clenching his fists, he vowed to maintain his grip on power, refusing to surrender to the God of Israel. But as the moon hung heavy in the sky, a divine command stirred the hearts of the Israelites. a whisper from heaven urging Moses forward once more. In the homes of the faithful, tension mingled with expectancy. From within their humble abodes, the cries of their forefathers intertwined with a revelation cloaked in sorrow and joy. A sacrificial lamb would be offered, the blood painted upon their doorposts a sign of hope, a covenant sealed in faith. As the dusk descended, Moses called the people together, his voice steady and resolute. "Take a lamb for each household," he commanded, the words echoing through the assembly. "This night the Lord shall send judgment through the land of Egypt. But fear not, for he will pass over our homes." Curiosity ignited in the hearts of his listeners. How could mere blood save them? Where was the logic in sacrifice? Yet in that moment, amidst the flickering oil lamps, a profound realization washed over them. The act was not merely one of bloodshed, but a symbol of their faith and adherence to the unseen promise that liberation would follow anguish. With trembling hands, they prepared the lambs, feeling the weight of generations upon their shoulders. As the hearts of the faithful cried out for freedom, the rumble in the air felt charged with divine intent. The night closed in, wrapping them in its embrace as shadows danced, creating a tapestry of both despair and hope. Hours later, in the stillness of the night, a sharp cry shattered the silence. Death swept through Egypt like a thief, claiming the firstborns of every household. The wails rose up into the heavens, a tapestry of anguish woven into the fabric of time. Pharaoh, consumed by a terror he could not control, called for Moses in frantic desperation. The grief-stricken cries echoed through the land, for he now knew this was not merely an affront to his reign, but a reckoning at the hands of a power he had long dismissed. Meanwhile, the Israelites sheltered within their homes, surrounded by the warmth of protection and faith. Each lingering moment heightened their awareness of purpose. Blessed by the very act of remembrance, they would emerge from this night forever changed. But even as they felt the cords of bondage unraveling, a hollow ache remained. What deeper truths existed within the fabric of this sacrifice? How could such an act bring deliverance amidst destruction? The dawn was close, and with it, the promise of a new beginning. Yet the shadows of the night still clung to their hearts, whispering unanswered questions into the silence. What does it truly mean to be redeemed, and at what cost does freedom come? The dawn broke over Egypt with an unsettling stillness, the remnants of night clinging to the air like a shroud. The cries that had pierced the dark now hung heavily in the silence, a haunting melody of grief. Pharaoh, his face drawn and pale, emerged from his chamber, his eyes reflecting the weight of the calamity that had befallen his land. He cast a glance at the people of Israel who gathered anxiously, hearts pounding and hopes mingling with fear, as he strode toward the assembly of Israelites. It became evident that his resolve was faltering. His defiance had crumbled under the burden of parental despair. "Moses," he shouted, the tremor in his voice betraying the command he sought to convey. The image of all that had been lost struck him a kingdom of grief. Moses stepped forward, meeting Pharaoh's gaze with a mix of sorrow and unyielding strength. "It is time, O Pharaoh, to let my people go," he declared, the words resonating deep within the crowd gathered behind him. Each face bore witness to hope intertwined with the reality of loss. The air brimmed with anticipation, yet a profound mystery lingered just beyond comprehension. Pharaoh turned away, anger mingling with uncertainty. "I will not yield to an unseen God," he hissed, but the tremors in his hands betrayed his fear. The fabric of his authority was fraying. He could sense it pulsing beneath him. The sun rose higher, casting its golden warmth upon the land, igniting a flame of purpose within the hearts of the Israelites. Moses, sensing the urgency of the moment, rallied the people. "Gather your belongings," he urged, a fervent zeal igniting the crowd. Their journey lay before them, a path laden with both promise and peril. Yet even as they prepared to depart, a shadow of doubt flickered in the hearts of some. Could they truly believe that the unseen hand guiding them was stronger than the obstacles that lay ahead? As the Israelites moved to the gates of Egypt, the finality of their decision echoed through the streets. Mothers clutched their children close, grasping the weight of new beginnings while carrying the scars of the past. Moses led them towards the horizon, the sun in their eyes and a new hope blossoming on their lips. But even in this moment of collective embrace of freedom, the unanswered questions lingered. In the heart of Moses, a restlessness stirred. He could feel the spiritual promise entwined with the action of faith. Yet were they truly prepared for the journey that lay ahead? What awaited them beyond the familiar comforts of bondage? As they approached the threshold of liberation, a sudden wind whipped through the air, crisp and unsettling. The memory of the night lingered in their minds, a warning etched in their hearts. And then came a divine whisper, a gentle nudge guiding their thoughts to the meaning of their liberation. Would they remember? Would they cherish the sacrifice that had brought them to this very moment? The people, filled with expectancy but burdened by the weight of their past, shared glances filled with unease. What truths had they yet to uncover about their identity? And what would it take for them to truly believe they were free? As they stepped beyond the land of their oppression, a profound realization dawned. Freedom was not just an act of deliverance. It was a journey of the heart. Even as they left Egypt behind them, could they carry with them the wisdom of this night, inscribed upon their souls? What happens when liberation leads to greater self-discovery, and how will the echoes of our past shape our future? With the sound of hurried footsteps and the rustling of belongings, the Israelites moved farther from the land of their torment. Yet, as they journeyed into the expanse of the wilderness, the vision of their destination remained clouded. The sun hung high, yet the path lay dim and uncertain before them, shrouded in mystery. Moses led his people across fields that had once thrived under their labor, now abandoned. The cries of their former lives echoed in their minds. It was not merely the songs of the past that haunted them, but questions endless and profound. What would this freedom feel like without the weight of familiarity? Around a glowing fire that night, the air thick with the scent of roasted grain, Moses sought to comfort the worried souls. He spoke of promise and hope, weaving a tapestry of their ancestral story, a journey filled with faith that would illuminate the way. Each tale he shared seemed to stoke the embers of their spirits. Yet doubts lingered in the whispers of the night. Will there be plenty? Asked an elder with sunken eyes, emanating wisdom etched through years of hardship. And will we survive out here? Interjected a mother, anxiety wrinkling her brow as she cradled her child. Moses, gazing into the depths of the flames, felt overwhelmed by their uncertainty. Our freedom requires faith, he replied, his voice steady but troubled. We must remember who we are, not merely escaped slaves, but a people set apart. We have faced the wrath of Pharaoh, and yet the God of our forefathers has guided our steps. These plagues were our past. Our present is uncertain, but our future is held in sacred hands. Yet even as he spoke, he wrestled with his own disquiet. Each person's worry, a tangible thread in the fabric of their shared faith, tugged at him. In the midst of their struggle, was he truly hearing the voice of God amidst the tumult of emotion? The winds danced with them, around their gathering, carrying with it messages not yet understood. What does it mean to be a chosen people? He pondered deeply, staring into the glowing embers that mirrored his own restless thoughts. Is it simply a title or a call to embody something greater? Days turned into nights, and their journey through this barren wilderness became a foundation on which something profound would unfold. With every step, they faced hunger. With every meal, they failed to recall the wholesomeness of dignity they had once known. A recurrent theme began to hum, longing for assurance amid their uncertainty. As they pressed on, Moses climbed to the summit of a solitary hill, seeking divine wisdom amidst the shifting sands. He closed his eyes, absorbing the stillness, praying fervently for guidance in how to lead a people into the unknown. It was not merely deliverance that weighed on him. It was the task of cultivating faith in hearts that had long known only the harsh hand of oppression. Moments later, he descended the hill with the clarity of purpose kindling his heart. He gathered the people under the witness of the sky, so vast it swallowed their fears. "We may not have all the answers," he proclaimed, "but we shall find strength in our unity, and we must rely on the unseen force at our side. We are journeying toward a promise. Though the steps may seem perilous," the crowd nodded, their faith flickering like the flames of the fire. Yet as they walked forward, shadows of doubt trailed them deep into the night, leaving unresolved undercurrents of fear and longing. What truths remain buried within us that shape our journey toward freedom? And how do we nurture faith when the path ahead is shrouded in uncertainty? As the dawn broke over the undulating dunes, hues of gold and rose spread across the sky, casting the land in a resplendent light. The Israelites awoke to another day in the wilderness, the chill of the night slowly yielding to the warmth of the sun. Yet as they packed their meager belongings, the echoes of last night's doubts still hovered, an unwelcome specter clinging to their hearts. Moses stood apart, reflecting on the horizon's promise and peril. Each dawn he had led his people marched closer to a vision drawn not just in their hearts, but in the threads of their ancestral Talisa land flowing with milk and honey. Yet within him, a profound weight settled. How could he inspire confidence when his own soul wrestled with the implications of the freedom they sought? As they traveled, the sharpness of hunger and thirst reminded them harshly of their vulnerability. During the day, the relentless sun bore down upon them, while the heart of their journey remained oddly desolate. They had escaped physical chains but were ensnared by deeper, unseen bonds. Uncertainties about their worthiness, their survival, and their new identity point one afternoon, as they paused beside a cold stream that offered little but aching memories of joyful contentment. They gathered their meager rations, attempting to mask their gnawing hunger with conversation. A chorus of weary voices spun stories, notes of joy woven amidst the fabric of worry. Children laughed, but it was a sound tinged with the worry of hopelessness inherited from their parents. "Moses!" called out Miriam, his sister, her voice slicing through the heavy air. "Do you hear the people? Their spirits wane. Maybe our hunger is more than just the ache in our bellies. It is hunger for assurance. They crave something tangible to hold on to, even as they walk a faith-laden path." "Yes," Moses replied quietly, eyes scanning the troubled faces of his people. "How do we feed their hearts when our journey requires a different nourishment, one unseen?" In the ensuing silence, a young boy approached Moses, his small hands wrapped around a cluster of wild berries he had managed to find. "Will these fill us, Moses?" he asked, innocence and hope mingling in his voice. Moses knelt beside him, the simplicity of the boy's heart shining through the shadows. "They may quench our hunger today," he replied, looking into the boy's eyes, "but we must remember faith is our daily bread. It fills when physical nourishment is sparse." With those words, Moses sensed a shift, a tentative flicker of hope igniting in the crowd. The boy's offering, despite its modesty, symbolized a measure of faith, a tangible reminder that even in desolation, assurance could be found. The people began to gather, and he encouraged them to share stories of their ancestry, traditions, and the miracles passed down through generations. As the tales were exchanged, a growing warmth enveloped the gathering. The narratives of their forefathers' escape from Egypt, the miracles they witnessed breathed life into their weary souls. They recounted the very plagues that had set them free, the rivers that ran red, the frogs that had invaded, and the darkness that enveloped their oppressors. Yet in the middle of this shared experience, Moses couldn't shake his uncertainty. The stories served as a reminder of divine power, but were they enough? Would recalling the past assure them of future? He pondered, is remembrance the key to faith, or simply a veil covering deeper needs? The sun began to set, casting long shadows over the camp. Their laughter faded into thoughtful murmurs. As they nestled close around the fire that night, the warmth of unity became a source of strength against the lingering chill of doubt. Yet Moses felt the weight of his role press heavier still. Was their journey destined for more than just survival? What does it truly mean to have faith in the unseen, and how do the lessons of our history shape our hopes for the journey ahead? As night enveloped the camp, the flicker of the fire cast dancing shadows, creating a tapestry of silhouettes against the darkness. The starlit sky unfolded above them like a promise unbroken, and the soothing sounds of the nearby stream intermingled with a low hum of reflection among the gathered Israelites. Each face was illuminated by the glow of shared memories. Yet Moses felt a different kind of light hesitancy, carried like a burden in his heart. He looked beyond the flames, where the vast desert stretched endlessly, a land both rich in promise and fraught with uncertainty. The stories shared may have rekindled a spark within the people, but Moses sensed deeper questions beginning to stir within him, questions that felt as ancient as time itself. In the quiet moments, while he wrestled with his thoughts, an aged man approached Moses, an elder whose hair was silver as the moon. Moses, he began with a voice worn yet steady. Wisdom comes not just from what has been told, but from the quiet revelations between the stars and the earth. Moses regarded the elder, curiosity and respect battling within him. "What do you mean?" he asked. The elder sat beside him, looking into the dancing flames. The plagues that freed us from Egypt were not just a series of events. They were lessons wrapped in the cloak of suffering. Each marked a turning point, not just for Pharaoh, but for us as well. The Nile turning to blood was a reminder that life flows from purity, and frogs, as noisy as they were, perhaps taught us that disruption is part of change. Moses pondered the elder's words, feeling their weight settle in the depths of his soul like stones dropped into still water, sending ripples of realization spiraling outward. Did we not suffer? Were we not marked by the same plagues that broke our captors? The elder nodded solemnly. Yes, but within suffering lies the seed of strength. To be freed, one must first face the reality of their chains. Every wound holds a map to our greater purpose. The question lays not only in what that purpose is, but how we understand every moment that led us here. That a rustle in the shadows drew Moses' attention. It was Miriam, listening intently, having approached unnoticed. "Can these truths guide us now?" she asked, eyes wide with a blend of hope and uncertainty. As we march forward into the unknown, how do we engage each day with the lessons of our past without being held back by them? Moses considered his sister's question. Perhaps the key is not to dwell in the shadows, but to embrace the light within them. Each day is not merely a step into the future. It offers a chance to bring the essence of our experiences along, a reminder that in every struggle, we wield the power to transform. The plagues were one form of divine intervention. They were indeed devastating, but also deeply revealing. He whispered, the flames crackling in agreement. As he spoke, a gentle breeze seemed to sweep through their circle, carrying with it the unvoiced fears and hopes weaving through their hearts. Every sigh and unspoken question breathed life into their collective journey. But the air grew thick with the realization that tomorrow would not be an easy day. There were more challenges ahead, and the wilderness would demand everything they had to give. Moses' heart became burdened anew. As subtle as the whispers of the wind, he felt doubts encroaching once more. Will our past guide us or ensnare us? Will the stories of our liberation transform into shackles of expectation? The night deepened. The stars twinkled like distant promises, each one embodying countless stories waiting to be told. Surrounded by his people, he remained silent, wrestling with the unseen that hovered just beyond reach, a question brandished like a sword in the dark. How can we leverage both the light and shadows of our past to strengthen our faith as we step into the uncertainty of tomorrow? As dawn broke softly upon the horizon, the Israelites stirred from their restless slumber, the remnants of night clinging to them like fleeting dreams. Moses rose early, feeling the cool breeze against his skin, a reminder of the relentless cycle of time. In this wilderness, every dawn carried a whisper of hope mingled with the essence of struggle. He could not help but feel a weight pressing upon him, deeper than the shadows of the night, an unanswered call echoing through the chambers of his heart. With every step he took toward the encampment's edge, he felt the pulse of the people around him, their worries and aspirations entwined as closely as the tendrils of mist that danced above the ground. It was in this bustling morning that Moses sensed a shift, a divine energy whispering truths not yet revealed. He yearned to comprehend its meaning, to share the mystery with his people, yet he cautioned against rushing into revelations that might not yet be ready to unfold. Breaking his fast with a bowl of simple meal, Moses joined his people in quiet conversation. The air was alive with the spirited exchanges of those reflecting on the discoveries of yesterday. Miriam approached, her eyes sparkling with a newfound vigor. "Moses," she called gently, "what if the key to our journey lies not only in the lessons of the plagues, but also in the silence between them? What about the moments not recorded, the spaces where we learn to trust beyond what was seen?" Her thoughts struck a chord deep within him. "Perhaps," he replied, "we must consider not just the plague's severity, but also the crescendos and pauses of our collective struggles. What did we glean in those moments of quiet? What strength resides in the breath before a storm?" Amid their talking, a child's laughter rang out, drawing Moses' attention. He watched as young ones played among the tents, their innocence a stark contrast to the heavy burden of the adults. It reminded him of the essential need for joy in the midst of hardship. He lifted his gaze to the rugged expanse before them, the wilderness, sprawling outwards like a canvas waiting for color. It was in that wild unknowing that new stories could emerge. He turned to the gathered assembly, a yearning to instill courage nestled in his heart. "Look around. Our past has forged us, yes, but it is our unity in joy, our tenderness in pain, that truly shapes our path forward," he proclaimed, his voice steady. "In our struggle against Egypt, we were collectively shaped, not just as victims, but as victors. The lessons were not merely for Pharaoh, but resonate still, teaching us to embrace the unity of our humanity." At a ripple of acknowledgement moved through the crowd, and he discerned the shared understanding of a deeper truth that tapped into their very souls. They were interconnected, each thread of experience woven tightly into a fabric of resilience. Yet, a silent tension still lingered, a reminder of the unseen burdens they carried as they gathered food and prepared for the day's journey. A moment of stillness enveloped Moses. He contemplated the divine presence guiding them, contemplating the possibility that even in the hidden silences, God was painting the outlines of their destiny. What revelations lay within the stillness, waiting to be heard beneath the surface of their busy lives? His thoughts were interrupted by the elder from the night before, who approached with a knowing look in his eyes. "Moses," he began, "how we considered that every plaguing challenge grants us not merely a lesson, but also a calling. Our trials are like fires shaping gold. What then, my son, is our calling etched within these challenges?" Moses stared into the wizened face of the elder, feeling the weight of the inquiry, combination of both dread and wonder. What lay beneath the surface of their suffering, beyond mere survival? And were they ready to face whatever calling lay ahead amid their struggles and doubts? As the sun climbed higher, bathing the ground in warmth, Moses wondered if they could do more than just endure. Could they embrace their challenges with open hearts and a willingness to transform? In the face of uncertainty, would they gather the strength to not only remember their past, but also to craft a future brighter than the dawn itself? What hidden truths do we carry within the silence of our struggles, waiting to guide us to our true calling? As the sun climbed higher, its warmth enveloped the encampment, a promise of new beginnings stirring within each heart. The air was thick with anticipation, heavy with unspoken hopes and the scent of warm bread as families prepared for the day's journey. Yet beneath this vibrancy pulsed an undercurrent of anxiety, a shared understanding that not everything would come to light so easily. Moses gathered the elders, encouraging them to reflect on the experiences that had brought them to this point, urging them to share what they had learned in the unfathomable depths of their trials. They huddled beneath a canvas awning, seeking shade from the rising heat, where voices mingled with the rustle of the winds, whispering secrets of the past. One elder spoke of the night deep in the heart of Egypt. We huddled together in fear, our hearts heavy with dread, waiting for the unknown to strike. In that darkness, we were not merely awaiting deliverance. We became a community forged by faith and fear alike. What we thought brought us to our knees also lifted us in unity. The fire of his words ignited a flicker of understanding across the gathering. Moses nodded slowly, appreciating the profound truth embedded in those memories. He recognized that within every lament, there existed not just suffering, but also an unyielding bond that had defied isolation. What if, he ventured tentatively, every challenge bears within it a fruit of divine revelation? We saw the power of the plagues, but did we comprehend the depths of transformation they demanded from us? The crowd shifted, a hesitant murmur of agreement flitting through the elders. Miriam, her voice imbued with wisdom nurtured in the trials of the past, added, "Each plague revealed not further judgment, but an invitation, a call to introspection. Our exodus was not merely about leaving Egypt, but rather about shedding the chains binding our hearts to despair. What if we are still in the process of unveiling our true selves?" As waves of realization washed over them, Moses pondered the implications of her words. The plagues had not merely been acts of power. They were lessons unfolding in the tapestry of their existence, threads woven by the hands of their Creator. In essence, each calamity mirrored their cries for liberation, demanding the release of fear and the embrace of boldness. From the depths of his reflective thoughts, he realized the necessity of a new vision, a vision that must be birthed as they traversed the wilderness. What happens, he proposed, when we acknowledge that every shadow cast by our past is but a prelude to the light we are called to become? Will we rise to meet that call, or will the burdens we carry weigh us down, holding us captive? The elders exchanged glances, a murmur of contemplation swirling among them. The questions Moses posed hung in the air like a promise yet to be fulfilled. They knew their journey was about more than mere survival. It was about discovering the depths of their purpose. As laughter erupted from the children playing at a distance, a vision of hope danced vividly in Moses' mind. Perhaps joy, interspersed among their trials, was the very essence of their transformation. Let us remember, my friends, we are not only the remnants of suffering, we are also the seeds of possibility. As we journey forth, let us cultivate that potential together. An unspoken agreement formed among them, yet there was a lingering shadow on the horizon, a silent worry about what lay ahead in their path, just beyond the next bend. Would they have the courage to embrace their calling, or would they be entangled once again in the fears of yesteryears? As they rose, preparing for the day's travels, Moses could feel the weight of their shared questions bearing down upon him. What were they truly capable of as they faced the vast wilderness, the very ground where liberty and struggle would entwine? What if the hidden secrets of their trials offered a template for a brighter future, but the key to unlocking that potential still remained shrouded in uncertainty? As morning light bled into the canvas of their encampment, a palpable sense of resolve settled among the people. They packed their belongings with purpose, each item a reminder of their mission to forge a new identity. Yet, amidst the bustle, an underlying current of worry pervaded the air, a question that refused to loosen its grip. What awaited them in the wilderness, beyond the familiar terrains of their past? Moses led the way, footsteps firm upon the sun-drenched sand, his mind swirling with reflections on the elders' insights. He paused for a moment, looking back at the children who laughed and played at the edges of the camp. Their innocence stood in stark contrast to the burdens their parents carried. The children embodied the potential for renewal, unfettered by the shadows that clouded their elders' hearts. Miriam walked alongside him, sensing the weight of contemplation that enveloped her brother. "What stirs within you, Moses?" she asked gently, her eyes scanning the horizon. Speak your heart, for our journey demands more than silence. The burdens of Egypt shape us still, he replied, his voice steady yet soft. It is not simply about walking away from our captors, but identifying the chains that have followed us. Their echoes linger, chasing our steps. We grasp for the promise of freedom while clutching the remnants of suffering. Miriam nodded thoughtfully. And in this wilderness, is it not here we can shed those layers? We must cultivate an understanding of who we are apart from our hardships, allowing hope to take root in barren soil. As they delve deeper into conversation, the people follow behind, their eyes flickering with glimpses of understanding. Each step forward was layered with an increasing assurance that their past, though painful, could birth a future rich in promise. Suddenly, the air cracked with tension. A sound unlike any other, like the roar of distant thunder, rippled through the encampment. The people halted, grounding the moment in stillness as all eyes turned towards the horizon. It was a sight they did not expect. A dark cloud swirling ominously above the dunes, blotting out the sun as if to usher in the twilight of their new beginnings. Is this another trial? Someone whispered, a tremor of fear creeping into their voices. The memories of the plagues still echoed vividly in their minds, a reminder of the power a single divine decree could wield. Moses felt the weight of the crowd's gaze upon him. "Do not fear the darkness," he said, raising his hands, "for we are not lost, but being led." Every tempest reveals an opportunity for revelation. But as the dark cloud drew closer, a chilling realization gripped his heart. This was no ordinary storm. It danced with the chaotic essence of the very plagues that had summoned their freedom. Would it bring more suffering, or was it another invitation to transcend their limitations? The winds howled, lifting the grains of sand and tossing them into the air, encircling the weary souls. In that tempest, time seemed suspended, presenting a fragile moment ripe with potential. Would this storm push them backward into fear, or would it challenge them to evolve beyond their entrapped identities? Within the swirling chaos stood the reminders of their history, tempting them to be ensnared by despair once more. "The desolation of the plagues is gone," Moses whispered under his breath, "yet their lessons linger. May we recognize this storm not as punishment, but as an awakening, an unveiling of our collective strength." As the clouds swept closer, deep questions hung in the air, unaddressed and unresolved. What if the lessons of the past were both a pathway and a roadblock? And what if this storm was not just a harbinger of another trial, but a beckoning toward a deeper understanding of their purpose? In the stirring uncertainty, hope coiled into anticipation, urging them to press on. Would they stand firm against the darkness, illuminating their path with the fire of their faith? How might they see beyond the storm, uncovering the hidden truths that lay within its swirling depths? As the tempest cracked the sky with its fierce might, the Israelites gathered closer, a sea of anxious faces reflecting both fear and determination. The winds roared with a voice of their own, yet in the heart of the chaos, there was a stillness, a knowing that coursed through Moses. He recognized that the frenzied winds were no mere harbingers of doom. They were challenges beckoning them to awaken from their fears. "Moses," a voice called, breaking through the wind, the worry evident upon a young woman's face. "What shall we do? The storm seems intent on unraveling us." Moses stepped forward from the shelter of the near-imposing cloud, meeting her gaze with unwavering calm. "This storm carries us toward a revelation," he proclaimed, his voice steady, echoing against the tumult. "It will not destroy us, but rather unveil the depths of our spirit." When we faced the plagues before, we were confronted not only with despair, but also with profound truth, the truth that we are not merely survivors. We are a community awakening to our purpose. As he spoke, the swirling winds began to quiet, drawing the attention of the people. Faces once clouded by fear began to brighten with hope, and the shadows of uncertainty started to dissipate. Each wave that crashes against us is not a sign of our weakness, but an affirmation of our strength, He continued, raising his hands as if to embrace the storm itself. In the chaos lies our calling. With a sudden gust, the winds shifted and the clouds spun towards the ground, transforming into a vibrant whirlwind of energy that wrapped around the gathering. For a moment, time seemed to stretch, and the air sparkled with an ancient resonance, akin to the divine breezes that had brushed against their forefathers. Moses took a deep breath, sensing the fervent energy swirling around, nurturing seeds of courage within each heart. "This is our moment," he shouted over the diminishing gale. "Every challenge we have faced beckons us to rise together, knitted as one in the fabric of faith. We are chosen not for comfort, but for greatness." As soon as he finished, a brilliant light broke through the darkened clouds, cascading over the earth like golden rain, and the hearts that had been heavy now soared with unyielding hope. The people began to chant, voices rising together in a powerful Carusa proclamation of their unity, a declaration of their faith, and an embrace of the unknown destiny that lay ahead. The clouds parted, retreating before their collective resolve, and within that instant, Moses caught a glimpse beyond the horizon, waving grains of gold, a land promised yet unseen, and it shimmered with divine abundance. With renewed vigor, he raised his arms and declared, "Let us walk forward, not dwelling on chains that once bound us, but stepping boldly into our birthright. We are not merely deliverers of our bodies, but vessels of divine promise." With the storm, now a mere whisper of its former self, the people surged forward, energized by their leader's spirit. The wilderness stretched out before them, wild and untamed, yet within its breadth lay the fullest expression of their freedom not just from bondage, but from the fears that had kept them shackled in spirit. Days turned into weeks as the Israelites wandered through the unyielding terrain of the wilderness, their hearts and faith fortified by the revelations that had accompanied them since the storm. Moses found his stride not merely as their leader, but as a teacher, relaying the stories, struggles, and victories of their shared past. They journeyed together, each lesson laying deeper foundations for their unity, each challenge revealing their strength. In quiet moments, they paused to remember the trials of their past, how the plagues had wrought devastation, yet also light. Moses guided them to see not scars earned in suffering, but wisdom gained in survival. Each plague bore a lesson. He taught softly, the fire illuminating his words. Not merely what was taken away, but what we are now empowered to carry forward. Years passed, and amidst the shifting sands and sunlit days, the penalization of the past became powerful storytelling, shaping their identity. Their hunger transformed into a pursuit of knowledge. The mothers told of the night of the Passover, where a simple act of faith had sealed their fate. The children learned of the frogs, blood, and darkness, yet their focus shifted with a noble freedom towards the sunlit lands, yet unclaimed. As dusk fell over the encampment after many moons, Moses, now aging and wise, felt a stirring deep in his spirit. He called the people together, a vast assembly under the canopy of stars. The echoes of the journey vibrated through time, resonating with lessons shaped by both the plagues and the holiness of moments awakened thereafter. "Tonight, we gather not just to remember the past," he said, voice rich with the essence of time, "but to recognize our present calling, not defined by captivity, but expanded by faith. Every act of defiance against despair, every flicker of courage among the heartbeats, this is the legacy we carry forward." The crowd hung on his words, their hearts swelling with purpose. What we endure becomes our testimony, the reflection of hope for generations to come. As we carry the fruits of our journey, we sow seeds of liberation not just for ourselves, but for all who wrestle against invisible burdens. And so the Israelites looked up at the canopy of stars, witnessing the light that had always been present above them, reflecting the light now blooming within them. They had journeyed through shadows, but the revelations they had encountered taught them how to glean beauty from hardship. With souls intertwined, an array of voices rose in harmony, a melody ringing through the night past the shadows, past the plagues, past the anguish toward a horizon that promised not mere existence, but the essence of thriving. In divine unity, we are reborn. They sang, those simple, timeless words igniting the night with transformation. As Moses stepped back, a smile graced his lips, satisfied not by merely leading them out of Egypt, but toward the deeper journey of becoming who they were always meant to be. The plagues, the wilderness, the fears they had all woven the very fabric of their existence. It was in courage, unity, and the glorious embrace of their intricate identity that they found freedom itself, a freedom that would echo beyond the ages. For sometimes in the chaos of storms, where darkness lingers, the greatest revelations await those willing to press on, to remember, to transform their trials into triumph. And as the dawn broke once more, it heralded the true beginning of their legacy, fueled by a journey of faith that illuminated not just their path, but all who would walk alongside them.